All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be touching on the best values for week one. And man, do we have a lot of great values, especially at the receiver spot. There are so many 3K plays that we're going to be able to target. And let's actually go ahead and start out with those plays. And I think the first and easy one is going to be Yoshivas, where he is going to be the receiver number 3 in this offense, at least to start this season. A lot of people are thinking it might be Jermaine Burton. That is not going to happen. That's pretty much been made clear. Now, my one concern is that in this situation last year, where Tyler Boyd was out or a receiver was out, it was a little bit of him. It was actually Trenton Irwin that got a decent amount of work as well. But all signs that point into Yoshivas being the receiver number 3 in this offense. And he has looked good thus far as preseason. He looked good last year when he was on the field. Everyone's raving about him. And again, it's not going to be Jermaine Burton. Apparently, there was some weird stuff going on with him this offseason. Apparently fell asleep during a meeting. So his playing time throughout the preseason was like spotty and just weird. But because of that expectation, because it was going to be Irwin, because it was potentially going to be Burton, we're getting him at 3K. And it's going against the New England defense. We don't exactly want to target that, but I don't mind him in some stacks with Joe Burrow. I think that's a decent route to go. And on top of that, we are still waiting on news for Jamar Chase. Now, honestly, hopefully, by the time some of you guys are watching this video, hopefully he has signed his contract or he's returned to practice and is good to go. Now, guys, let's actually stick with that game and move on over to the other team, the New England Patriots. And we got Tyquan Thornton. And again, guys, this is extremely ugly. I get that. But Tyquan Thornton is someone that will probably get at least one deep ball target in this game. And he is going to be starting for them. Now, I think starter is actually going to be a loose term for the Patriots because like Jaylen Powell is going to be the receiver number 1 in a sense. Demario Douglas is going to be receiver number 1. You still have KJ Osborne there, who's not terrible, but Thornton's going to be the one that his role seems pretty much defined. He's going to be playing on the outside a lot. He's going to be a speed threat. And we got a pretty good indication that he would be the starter in the preseason. He started alongside KJ Osborne. KJ Osborne kind of had some weird playing time where they have quietly been raving about Thornton. And again, you're not going crazy with this. No one's going to be playing him that much. Maybe he catches the deep ball target. He should be playing a lot. This is a playing time play to try to get lucky. GPP only. Obviously, all these values are going to be GPP onlys. Now, another one that no one is going to want to play is going to be Calvin Austin. Okay, Calvin Austin is someone last year that I personally liked a decent amount. I thought, oh man, we struck gold with him. I believe it was week 3 where I told everyone to play him on a showdown slate. That worked out, got lucky, and now in hindsight, I'm like, holy crap, that was really lucky because after that, really not much happening for him throughout the rest of the season. Now, it does seem pretty clear that with Romaine Wilson out, that he is going to be the slot receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. And I don't think Arthur Smith being the OC is like a big narrative thing, but it is kind of a fun thing to monitor. Like I probably will have Russell Wilson and maybe a Calvin Austin stack. I don't mind that idea. And Austin's someone that if you game plan him into the game, like he could easily get a few receiver screens, a little bubble screen, and then he's already at 5 points. He's someone that did look good in the preseason as well. It was used with the starting offense. And so I think that's kind of a sneaky good one as well. And then the last of the complete flyers in terms of the values at receiver, we're going to get into like 4 really pretty good ones. Jaylen Naylor. So Jaylen Naylor is seemingly going to be the receiver number 3. This is probably more of one to watch for season-long purposes because Jordan Addison may or may not get suspended. We'll see. You would expect that with the Vikings DBs being as banged up as they are, that the Vikings probably will be playing from behind a decent amount. Naylor is someone that would make sense in garbage time as well, but he seems to have locked up the receiver number 3 spot, has been playing pretty well in the preseason as well, getting a lot of hype. Wouldn't be surprising to see him have a decent game. And just real quick, one other, just while we're here, just to pay attention to for season long as well, I kind of mentioned that with Naylor. Thrash is someone that maybe he actually becomes the receiver number 2 here over Jerry Jeudy. I don't know, he had a good preseason. Camp hype was going off about him. Just a fun name to monitor. But now let's go ahead and get into probably the most obvious situation that everyone's going to be targeting, and that is going to be the Washington Commanders receivers. So I was definitely paying attention to who or which receivers were going to be on the practice squad. Who did not make the team? Everyone below this line did not make the team. I don't mind Tinsley, but it makes sense. You got Zacchaeus there, who apparently could be starting, but I think the expectation is that it's going to be Brown and starting in the slot. And obviously this is going to be because Jahan Dotson was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a late round pick. And so we do have to figure out which receiver it's going to be, but the receiver number 2 spot is open. The receiver number 3 spot is open as well. This actually probably just helps Zach Ertz a little bit for week 1 and just in general. Like, probably is going to help him a decent amount. And Austin Eckler, for that matter. Like, that's probably who's going to benefit the most, but this is a value-based video. And so we're trying to find values. Maybe it's McConkey. Now, I don't want to go there. I think Brown is going to be the safest option out of the values. Let's just kind of put him into a lineup for now. Again, that could change as the slate progresses closer. And now I'm going to get into a min-price receiver that I hope some people that have been following my channel are already going to know that I'm going to say. He's going to have a rookie quarterback throwing him the football as well. That should be a little bit of a teaser. Let's get into it. That you guys can figure it out yet. Devon Valet. I keep messing that up. But Sean Payton has kind of been quietly telling us that he's going to be this year's Puka Nacua. At least that's how I'm going to keep phrasing it. And if it happens, I'm going to look like such a genius to the 15 or so people that'll like that on X when I repost it. I just wanted the soundbite there in case that does hit as well. But for real, guys, Sean Payton has quietly been talking him up a decent amount. They love his blocking. They basically said, he's Tim Patrick. You're good to go, Tim Patrick. We'll let you go to the Lions, which strange how that worked out. Josh Reynolds swapped with Tim Patrick. Just weird how that worked out for both teams. Kind of the same player. But Valet is probably going to be the receiver number 3 for the Denver Broncos, potentially. Like, I don't want to say that's an absolute. And maybe they just don't have one. But if you look at the guys, Humphrey is on their practice squad. He's not going to be there. You got Tim Patrick. Again, he's with the Lions. He got cut. You got Marvin Mims Jr., who is more of a slot receiver. It'll be interesting to see if he actually does get a decent amount of work. And then you got Josh Reynolds there, who, yes, he's a veteran presence there. He's an outside receiver. Valet will definitely need to take work away from him. But again, all reports have been saying that they love him there. They love this guy. Made an awesome one-handed catch in camp. I did a whole video breakdown of him on Twitter showing what the coaching staff liked about him. His blocking, his ability to do these rub routes, these timing routes. It's a good red zone threat. Now, I'm not saying he's going to pop off in week 1. Not a terrible matchup for that to happen. And no one's going to be on him. He's going to be maybe 1% on. Maybe the 2% of people that are watching this are going to play him. I mean, 2% of the people that are watching this might think about playing him. For fun purposes, I will have a piece of him. Again, 4 stacks might do a Bo Nix Valet stack and just have fun with it. Sean Payton is crazy enough to do that, though, as well. We saw him make Alvin Kamara thing basically right away. That could be Valet. And I hope I'm saying his last name right. All right, so I know there's probably some people that have been pulling out their hair when they're watching this video. Be like, how is this guy not mentioning these 2 players when he's talking about sub 4K receiver plays? Well, one of those is obviously going to be Jaylen Polk. I do think he's going to be the receiver number 1 for the Patriots offense. It's just a matter of when does that occur? Does it occur right away? Was a little bit worried that he extended into preseason week 3's game a little bit too long, but overall I'm not too worried about it. Demario Douglas was in there as well. He's going to be playing a lot. KJ Osborne, I think, played into the 3rd quarter as well. So, this could actually end up being a situation like the Kansas City Chiefs last year, at least at the start of the season, where there really wasn't a receiver number 1 for most of it. Some players had good games here and there, but for the most part, it was just a wait-and-see approach, and that could easily end up happening with the New England Patriots. But I really like the talent for Jaylen Polk, and they made an effort to get him the football on short, easy routes, easy completions, some bubble screens. And if we're going to get some cheap, easy points out of that, that's great. And again, loved how he looked. Super productive. Great footwork. Now, my one concern is that Demario Douglas maybe gets used a little bit more in that way earlier on in the season than Jaylen Polk. Maybe they're just trying to get a look at Polk to see if they can use him that way in the preseason, but I think that was a pretty clear indication that he is going to be heavily involved in this offense. And even more so, the last one that people were definitely pulling their hair out when they were watching this video, wondering how I hadn't mentioned him yet. It's going to be Greg Dortch. So Greg Dortch, there was a funny quote this offseason pretty much saying, if Greg Dortch was tall, he would be the best receiver in the league. It's like, yeah, you can say that probably about any athlete, maybe professional athlete ever. You give them one thing, they're going to be great. If you get Tom Brady speed, he's going to be the best quarterback ever to play the game. Oh, wait. Well, you get my point. Greg Dortch is someone, though, that is clearly athletic, clearly can get open, and did come on strong at the end of the season last year. And they kind of felt comfortable getting rid of Rondale Moore and Marquise Brown, I think not mostly, but partially due to him being a good talent. They got Michael Wilson there. They got Marvin Harrison Jr. there as well. But Greg Dortch, again, kind of looking at some cheap, easy, manufactured points. I think we could be seeing that from Greg Dortch as well. Again, Greg Dortch is someone that I'd probably just use in some stacks with Kyler Murray and maybe in a matchup with the Buffalo Bills. We don't want to go crazy with that. But if you guys are really loving your build and you're at the end of it, I would actually say Greg Dortch is probably one of the better values that you can go ahead and play. Maybe you get a little bit more clarity on that Washington situation, but so many great receiver values. And apologies, guys, for how long that segment was, but maybe it's just having too much information, watching a little bit too much preseason film, but very excited about those values. Again, don't go crazy with them, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of those receivers that I mentioned isn't a GPP winning lineup. None of those are cash plays. I want to make that clear. Now let's go ahead and get into kind of the easier part of this video, guys. We have the tight ends. Let's start with that after the receivers here. And simply put, what I'm going to be looking at is just playing time, and we're looking at the Panthers. The starter is going to be minimum priced. We don't know who that starter is going to be just yet. We need to get more clarity here, but we could be getting a starting tight end at minimum price. That's always going to be appealing, especially against the Saints, who last year were not that good against opposing tight ends. Something to pay attention to if you are in the need of a mid-price tight end. It's nice to know that we will have that option. Again, I don't know who it's going to be just yet. They need to get a little bit more healthy. They might not even know who it's going to be. We should have that, though, by lineup lock on Sunday. Now, the one situation I was paying close attention to really around cut day was actually the tight end situation for the Minnesota Vikings. I was like, is Robert Tonyan going to be the starter? Is he not? No, he was cut and put on their practice squad, which I found to be a little bit shocking. But that pretty much, and so was N'Keal Harry. We weren't really worried about that. But that kind of leaves Josh Oliver, who I don't think we're too worried about Josh Oliver in terms of being the starter. Maybe. But the one that's currently on top of the tight end depth chart is Johnny Munn. And all reports have suggested that I have seen is that he is going to be the starter. And again, if that is true, we do want to get that confirmation. But if that is true, that is just an elite value. We saw what he did last year at the end of the season when he was the starter, put up some good numbers. And so if we can get potentially 3x, maybe 9 Draftkings points out of him, I like that at that price tag. All right, guys, so now we're going to go ahead and jump on into the running back position. And we're really just going to be looking at running backs that are below 5K, okay? Could do a whole video and a longer video than this one each week if we didn't have that sort of constraint. And one thing that I found interesting, and this is just more of a tidbit, I am on a teeter of whether or not I really want to be on Jerome Ford for like maybe a core play potentially, but that might have ended when Foreman went from being a cut to being someone they just restructured his contract. And the Cleveland Browns are extremely banged up at the running back position. It's going to be him and Ford as probably the active running back. I mean, they're going to have another active running back, but like the two that actually get playing time, a decent amount of playing time. Foreman is someone that I would say probably is a little bit more likely to score a touchdown. Like he is someone that could fall into the end zone twice, and that wouldn't be shocking. But like Ford is going to be the player you're playing in terms of DFS. But another running back in that game, Rico Gathers, is going to be someone that I like a lot. I got him a decent amount in best ball drafts. Now, the Cowboys just signed Dalvin Cook. I see that as more of a hit against Zeke. I do. They both kind of looked washed, but in a veteran way where you can still kind of make it work, like a old man's game, if you will. Where Rico presents something else. He presents more big play upside. He can get it done in the passing game, or at least that's what they're hoping for. I kind of think this is going to be more like the Cowboys when we saw it be Zeke and Pollard. I kind of think we get that same feel out of Rico in regards to like when he was at his best, he looked like Pollard. And I think that's what they're hoping for. Now, the thought all offseason was that they were going to bring in another running back. I'm kind of glad that they brought in a running back that's more competition for Zeke rather than Rico. And so GPP-wise, I think this is a smash spot in terms of getting someone that could easily break the slate. Now, he needs to break a big play to do that, but I don't mind that. And then running back, guys, Jaylen McLaughlin. Again, talking about players that Sean Payton has been vocal about liking, it's him. Now, the issue is that we got Javonte Williams there. Javonte Williams has been getting a lot of hype out of camp as well. The best scenario I could see is that McLaughlin gets 45% of the work. Now, I do think he has a decent chance to get a lot of the third down work, and that's going to be because kind of the third down running back last year, which I always thought was kind of strange, Samaje Perine is not going to be there. And we can see the per game average that Perine had, 7.3. And so now we get McLaughlin potentially picking that up. It might be split between him and Javonte Williams, but we have McLaughlin there who looked great this preseason doing that. And even if he gets 40% of the work, even 35% of the work at this price tag, this is clearly too cheap for a guy that should be able to 2x at that price tag. I don't say that loosely. I do think he's going to be able to do that. And then last, let's go ahead and jump into the quarterback. So what I'm looking at is going to be 6K and lower here. Now, there are so many decent options, I would say, in that range. Baker Mayfield in a good matchup. I think he makes a lot of sense for stacking purposes. Jaden Daniels, kind of a rookie. I don't know if I really want to go in on that, but wouldn't be surprised to see him have a good game. Daniel Jones going against that Minnesota defense that is already kind of banged up, especially the secondary already banged up. I shouldn't say already not full strength. It's the best way to describe that. And you got Russell Wilson. Again, I kind of mentioned the Arthur Smith, maybe potential revenge game narrative going against Atlanta. He's going to want to play well against them. We know that. Russell Wilson could have a good game. And I really don't mind stacking him a little bit with Calvin Austin, and then a decent amount with George Pickens. Bryce Young has a super cheap price tag. Maybe the Saints aren't as good. Yeah, Will Levis is going to throw the football down the field. We have so many good options here. It's frustrating. It really is. But the one I've kept coming back to, and you guys are probably going to hate it, is actually Sam Darnold. And I say it with a little bit of hesitation. This is mostly due to Justin Jefferson. I like Jefferson's ability to make a big play, to pop a big play. That's really what it comes down to. And maybe Aaron Jones catches a pass and takes it to the house. We're shooting for upside there, and I just don't think he's going to be as high owned as some of those other players I just mentioned. Heck, Bo Nix is probably going to draw more ownership than Sam Darnold. And I realize I probably shouldn't have ended this video on Sam Darnold. That's going to sour a lot of people's taste as they're leaving this video, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this values video. It will not be as long as this during the regular season. There's just so many great receiver values that I wanted to touch on that I think could splash. Again, week one we always get a decent amount of values. After this, they're not going to be there. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. And as always, let's keep cashing.